Today on When Nature Calls, it's how to make summer sausage out of that guy right there. Okay, so what we need for summer sausage is, I like to mix mine 80-20. I like it 80% deer and 20% fat. And you can use pork fat or you can use beef fat. There's 100 different recipes out there. This just happens to be the way I like to do it. There are some advantages to that. You know it's your deer meat, you know how you processed it, and you know what's in it. When it's done, we're going to make 25 pounds at a time because that's what the recipe calls for. A lot of recipes say 5 cups of water, and I don't use that much water because in past experiences the meat just didn't firm up. So I use 20 pounds of good quality deer meat, not the front legs, not all that. It's got all the blue skin and stuff in it and all the tendons, and it doesn't make a good sausage. So good quality deer meat, and I use 5 pounds of pork fat. A lot of people will use beef fat because it doesn't have the MSG in it, but I like the flavor that the pork fat gives it, so that's what I use. I use a base, just a summer sausage packet that you can buy at most of the stores. It comes with the seasoning and the cure. You're going to need 10 casings, and right now they're kind of like paper, so I soak them in water to make them a little bit more pliable before I stuff them. I like to add jalapenos, crushed red pepper, a little cayenne pepper, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and then I'll show you how I do all that stuff as we go. Make it how you want it. The sausage seasoning packet is just a base, and then from there you can stop right there. You don't have to add anything else to it. But add and play with it and figure out what you like best. Okay, so I'm going to grind this meat on a coarse grind. I'm just going to use a coarse instead of the fine. I'm just going to use coarse. Run the deer meat through, then I'm going to run the fat through. I'm going to mix it up, and then I'm going to run it all back through together before I ever add any seasonings to it. We're going to get into this part first. I'm going to take those casings, and I'm going to soak them in water while I'm doing all this stuff. That way they're ready to go when I'm ready to stuff them. And a good quality grinder helps. Makes things go pretty fast. Okay, so as you can see, we got everything ground up, and this pork, the fat, it sticks together like a big thing of fat spaghetti. So I'm going to mix this up, and then by hand, just kind of get it all mixed in there, break up the fat a little bit more. Then I'm going to run it all back through the grinder again, and then I'll be ready for my seasonings. So I want you guys to pay attention to the color of this as we get going. As you can see, that deer meat is really dark red, and then obviously the fat's pretty white. But as we get going, this is going to, when I run this back through, it's going to get more pink, and then as we start to put in the seasonings and the cure starts taking place, it's going to turn more brown. That's the cure and the seasonings and everything starting to blend together like it's supposed to. So I'm just going to mix this up a little bit, like I said, and then run it through the grinder. The key to really part of this is patience. Can't rush this. We got to let all them seasonings and the cure and all that stuff, once we get it all mixed in there, let it do its thing. So when we get these casings stuffed and we get everything mixed up, stuff the casings. We're going to put the casings in the refrigerator overnight and let all that stuff just do its little magic to the meat while we're waiting to cook it tomorrow. And we'll cook it in the smoker, and then after it reaches the right temperature, when we get it out, Then the other patients have got to wait, because you got to wait for it to cool off and set before you can eat it. So patience is a big thing. I think this is just about ready to run back to the grinder. Okay, so we did the second grind. As you can see, it's turned a little bit more pink. It's not so dark red. Now it's time to add the summer sausage seasoning. You got 3 ounces of summer sausage seasoning. You have 7 ounces of the cure, crushed red pepper, jalapenos, cayenne pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and the water. And we're going to mix all this up. I only want to add enough water to dissolve the dry ingredients. I don't want this to be soup, but it will get sticky and tacky. And after we get it all mixed up, we can put it in the sausage stuffer. You notice I have a big stuffing tube on it because those casings got to slide over that. Before I do that, there's a rubber ring on the top of this that I'm going to coat this with my finger with vegetable oil or something, so it makes a good seal and it slides and it helps keep that rubber seal in good condition. I'm probably going to need some help, so I'm going to have somebody else hold the casings. If I had a foot control, I could do this all myself, but we want to make sure that that casing is packed tight. There's a bunch of little holes in that casing so that the smoke can permeate through it, but you'll be able to see it as you're stuffing it, that it'll start to come out. Make sure that's good and tight. You got to think this more of a like a hard salami, because that's basically what you're making is a salami. So you're stuffing this casing, and you want it tight. That way the meat sets up nice and firm inside there when it cooks, instead of being kind of mushy. Trial and error, I figured that out. It took me several years to figure out what I like. Like I said, this is all I'm going to use for 25 pounds of meat. It's got a nice little flavor to it, a little tingle on the tongue, not too much. But you can use a grinder with a stuffing attachment. My grinder has that, but I have a sausage stuffer, so I just use it instead. It seems to be a little bit more even, steady pressure. So now I'm going to just add the stuff, mix it up, and then next thing you'll see will be us stuffing it. And I got hog rings and hog ring pliers. You can tie the casing shut with flax string or hemp yarn or something. I've done it with regular yarn because that's all I had, or you can just use string or carpenter string just to tie it shut and keep it tight. And then after I get it stuffed, we'll put it in the refrigerator overnight, cook it tomorrow. Okay, we got it all mixed up. I've got most of it in the stuffer already, but I wanted to show you what I was talking about. See, that meat's turning nice and brown, and it's all the seasonings and the cure that's in there doing its thing. So when my help gets over here, we're going to stuff the meat sleeves or casing, and then we'll show you that, and then show you how we close them up with the hog ring pliers. We're going to put them in that other tote and then put them in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow we'll start the cooking process. Get rid of most of the excess water off of the casing. Slide the casing over the tube, and when you're stuffing this, hold it towards the end of the flute. Let it pack tight and let the casing slide through as the guy's pushing the pressure through. Just remember, you got to hold enough pressure on it to keep that meat tight inside that sleeve. Ready? Mm-hmm. In the air pocket. Back the pressure off of it, and that person will twist. Grab the hog ring and the pliers. Just grab some more. Tighter. Slip it over the casing, push down, and squeeze. And there's a sausage. I'm going to do, it should make 9 full ones and probably 1 partial. And I'll like I said, we'll wipe them off, we'll put them in the refrigerator, and then we'll cook them tomorrow. Okay, so we ended up with 8 full ones and then 1 little bitty partial thing. That was 25 pounds of meat. It tells me, I should have done 10. I don't know if you can see it. See all these little dots? That's the little holes that are in the casings. So that meat's coming out of there. They're stuffed good and tight. There's always some in the bottom of the stuffer pot that you can't get out with the stuff. So we like to take those and fry them up just as a sample. It will always taste different when it comes out of the smoker. But tomorrow we'll put the sausages we made in the smoker and we'll start them there. Okay, so they've been in the smoker for probably roughly about 5 hours. They finally reached the right temperature. So now I'm going to take them out. I have ice water right there. There's ice floating in the cold water. Take the sausages out. And they're going to go directly in the ice water. I want them to stop cooking. So I'm going to let them cool off for, I don't know, 10-20 minutes in there. And then after they're done cooling off, they're cold to the touch. I mean, right now you can see they're kind of steaming a little bit, maybe. But I'm going to let them cool off. I want them to stop cooking. And then after this, I'll take them out of here and I'll put them on a towel on the counter. And then tomorrow I'll cut them up. Okay, so it's was in the ice water for probably 15-20 minutes. It's cooled off enough. It's still warm. We'll put it out on the towel overnight, let it dry out. Tomorrow we'll turn around and we'll cut it in half and we'll vacuum seal it. But that's how you make summer sausage. I don't know. Let's see. Grab the camera. You can see there. You can kind of see the jalapenos and the crushed red pepper in there. It's got a nice color to it. So it'll firm up. It'll get even more firm after it sets up. So I hope you liked the video. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Thanks for watching When Nature Calls. And now I'm going to have my wife help me tomorrow. Cut this in half and vacuum seal it. And by the time we're done, she'll have handled more meat than a hot dog vendor.
You are ridiculous.
See you next time.